goodness of God calls us to awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake
And ready.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
great masters of Kriya Yoga,
great masters of Kriya Yoga,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ.
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
beloved Master,
beloved Master,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
we humbly bow before thee.
we humbly bow before thee.
Be with us this morning.
Be with us this morning.
Help us to be ever open
Help us to be ever open
in our hearts
in our hearts
to your divine presence,
to your divine presence,
that we may become your channels,
that we may become your channel
to share your blessings
to share your blessings
in our everyday life.
in our everyday life.
Peace. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Have a seat.
This is a song from Swami's oratorio called the Psalm of David. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, who made the heavens and the earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore.
As you continue to meditate and keep your gaze uplifted to the point between the eyebrows, listen to these words on our affirmation for this week. Kindness. When you can view all human beings as members of your own extended family, your brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, and children, then you will find wherever you go that love awaits you, welcomes you. It is God who gazes back at you when you behold him in all. Kindness is the recognition that all are truly our own. Kindness comes not from not minding how others feel about us. It comes from the simple understanding that kindness is its own reward, worth giving out to others because the source of so much sweetness in ourselves. For those of broad sympathies, the very universe is home. And now let's affirm together out loud, first in a strong voice. The whole world is my home.
The whole world is my home,
And the human race my family.
and the human race my family.
With God's kindness,
With God's kindness,
I embrace all men.
I embrace all men.
And now taking it a little deeper in a regular speaking voice, but with great concentration. The whole world is my home.
The whole world is my home,
And the human race my family.
and the human race my family.
With God's kindness,
With God's kindness,
I embrace all men.
I embrace all men.
And now in a whisper, taking it into the subconscious mind. The whole world is my home.
The whole world is my home,
And the human race my family.
and the human race my family.
With God's kindness,
With God's kindness,
I embrace all men.
I embrace all men.
And now silently, bringing it into the superconscious mind, broadcasting with deep focus at the point between the eyebrows. The whole world is my home, and the human race my family. With God's kindness, I embrace all men. The whole world is my home, and the human race my family. With God's kindness, I embrace all men. And pray silently with me. Divine Mother, help me to see that by kindness to others, I attract not only theirs in return, but thy kindness as well. May I be kind to others always. May my kindness act as a channel of thy unselfish love. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning. Welcome to Sunday service. This is week 21 from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. And this is the best way to worship. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. In chapter 4 of the Gospel of St. John, the woman of Samaria asked Jesus, "Where is the best place to worship?" This question might be expanded to include, what is the best church? What is the best religion? Is it important to go on pilgrimage to holy shrines? What is the best ritual? What is the best mantra or prayer? Jesus cut across all such questioning with his reply, "The hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." It is not that outer considerations of place, church, ritual, etc. are irrelevant. Each person should find those practices and observances which are compatible with his own nature, one might say with his own vibrations. Not everyone's natural path is the same. God sent different religions into the world to satisfy different human needs. The overarching concern, however, considering that the goal is to find God, is to include in one's worship daily inner communion with the Lord. God is silence. He must be sought, therefore, in inner silence. God is absolute love. He must be sought, therefore, in the silence of love. God is spirit, and thus immaterial. He must be sought, above all, in the expanding peace of deep meditation. Thus the Bhagavad Gita states in the 6th chapter, "Sequestered should he sit, steadfastly meditating, solitary, his thoughts controlled, his passions laid away, from every craving for possession freed. Wherever you are, whatever your outward beliefs and observances, seek God in the silence of your own soul. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everybody. This is the reading from Whispers from Eternity, prayer poems by Paramahansa Yogananda. This is Make Me a Lion of Thy All-Conquering Wisdom. I, a lion cub of the Divine Mother, found myself thrown into life among the sheep of human frailties, of fear, failure, and disease. Living long among them, I learned to bleat with weakness, forgetting my lion nature and its roars, which could frighten away all petty, pestering sorrows. O Lion of realization, thou didst drag me away from those bleating sheep to the mirror-smooth waters of meditation. There didst thou cry, "Gaze!" But I held my eyes tightly shut, bleating with fear. Thy roar of wisdom then reverberated through my body. Thou madest me, by hard shaking and spiritual urging, open my eyes. And there, lo, in the crystal pool of my inner peace, I saw my features to be even as thine own. Now I know myself as the lion of cosmic power. I will bleat no more with fear, weakness, and suffering, for I roar now with vibrant almighty power. I bound about through the forest of all experiences, seizing little creatures of vexing worries, timid fears, and wild hyenas of disbelief, devouring them ruthlessly. O Lion of immortality, roar through me thine all-conquering power of wisdom.
I want to welcome you all this Sunday. It's always a great joy and privilege to be with you. I was talking with Dharma Devi on the ride over for service, and I had asked her about this story. I wasn't sure how old she was, but she told me she was 5 years old and going to kindergarten for the first time. And it was her first time away from her mother, and she was crying at school, and the teacher realized she was having a hard time. So the teacher then brought her to the principal's office, and the principal took this little 5-year-old girl and put her up on his desk and said, "So, Allie, what seems to be the problem?" And mind you, she was 5. And she said, "I'm depressed and having and having difficulty coping." And the principal called her mother, and she was reunited with her mother. And of course, she was eventually able to become more accustomed to kindergarten. But I thought, aren't we all like Dharma Devi when she was 5 years old? I mean, maybe not you, but I still feel like that, where we come into periods where we can go through, like the Whispers that Keshava read, where we feel like we're the bleeding sheep, right? Of fear, of weakness, of doubt, and all these things. And the elixir to cure that is to go deeper into our love for God. It was funny, yesterday on Saturdays we have our Raja Yoga class going right now. It's a beautiful group of about 14 people, and we were studying the niyamas and the yamas the week before that. And so people were talking about bringing these attitudes, into their yoga practice and their meditation and this sort of thing. And there was one man, more middle-aged man, who wasn't as flexible, and there was a younger woman who's a yoga teacher, is more adept at the hatha yoga postures. But he was saying, I'll never be able to get my foot. It was the tree pose, vrikasana. You yoga practitioners and yogis said, "I'll never be able to get my foot, above my knee." And the girl responded, Not with that attitude, you won't. And she's quiet, she sort of, her lion came out and roared, at that moment. But this is true for us, is it comes back to our inner attitude and where our heart is. Dharma Devi's been writing, I think it's going to come out, Michael helps us with our newsletter on a weekly basis. She's been writing this inspiring blog, Suppression versus Self-Control. And this quality of, well, how do we know? How do we know suppression versus self-control, where the attitude of our heart is? And this is where, and why Master stressed sincerity, right? To be sincere with Divine Mother, with where you're at. And not to stuff your emotions and feelings, right? The yogic path is not a path, as Krishna says, of suppression. It's of transmutation. But before we can transmute emotions, just like we talk with Kriya Yoga, that you need to be aware of the energy before you can control the energy. It's the same thing with an emotion, is just energy in motion, right? That's why it's called an emotion. You need to be aware of that feeling, that emotion, before you can transmute it, before you can offer it up. So anyway, I won't steal the thunder of, of the article, but it got me to thinking about this. Well, I'm not suppressing anything. And then I felt in my heart, I felt this sense of sadness. And it was something that I couldn't just, stuff away. I couldn't deny that it was there. And it got, the deeper current of it was like how Master said, it gives God great grief that we are out of him. Remember the chant of Yogananda's, in the valley of sorrows. And there's another chant, divine love sorrow. So when these emotions and these feelings come upon us, seemingly out of nowhere, anger, fear, greed, grief, whatever it might be, these are, as Sri Yukteswar called them, the meannesses of the heart, what confine the heart. So in order to break those confines and come in contact with our soul self, we have to accept first where we're at, and then take that feeling into meditation, offering it up, also into our activity and seeing God in everyone. I wanted to share, here's the book, what Master shared on this, because as I was feeling this, I just opened randomly, and so often as you do, you get an answer to your question. One who was born disadvantaged in any way should resist fiercely the temptation to wallow in self-pity. To feel sorry for oneself is to dilute one's inner power to overcome. Instead, affirm, there are no obstacles, there are only opportunities. Accuse no one, not even yourself. Blame and accusation won't erase what has been done. It will affirm rather your dependency on circumstances over which truly you no longer have control. Seek God in inner silence. Reconcile yourself to what is and to what needs to be done about it. You can reshape every karma, provided that from today onward you live by soul consciousness. Sorrow is not overcome by sorrow, but by joy. Some sorrows we like to indulge in, but do not let sorrow remain with you too long, or it will rob you of the richest of your soul's possessions, perennial bliss. This is so inspiring for me this week, because I felt in that, I've shared with you, I think before, that part of Yogananda's poem Samadhi, where he says, waves of laughter. Scillas of sarcasm, melancholic whirlpools, melting in the vast sea of bliss. Sometimes we're caught in the whirlpool. We need to get to the part where it can melt. And in order for it to melt, we first have to accept ourselves. And, the greatest fear that we have is like those beautiful flowers, the bird of paradise. We have our festival of light every week. We're the bird of eternity, the bird of immortality, the lion of immortality. And the cage flings open. And as Master said in Autobiography of a Yogi, we're blown away by the liberating shock of omnipresence. We like our little cage. That's why you need to go into meditation and become accustomed with your soul self. With the sword of devotion, I sever the heartstrings that tie me to delusion. With the greatest love, I lay my heart at the feet of omnipresence. And we, too, will find, every one of us, like Master said, that it becomes this great divine romance. There was a story, too, of Swamiji that I wanted to share. Actually, I'm sorry, to back up. Going back to our Raja Yoga class, the yamas and the niyamas, was interesting because I have been practicing satya, which is one of the yamas, non-lying or truthfulness. And each yama has a corresponding niyama, right? They're actually twins. This is why in the Mahabharata it talks about the twins, Sahadeva and Nakula. The yamas and niyamas have a counterpart. And the counterpart to satya is devotion. And I was thinking about that. When we practice, the real acceptance and the real truth is that our heart belongs to Divine Mother. And the siddhi, there are siddhis or powers that are associated with the yamas and niyamas when they're perfected. And the perfection of devotion is union with God. Right? When we love something so deeply, we become it. That is what we want to pray for. I pray that we all grow deeper daily in our devotion because, remember, devotion is not just all heart and airy-fairy. It's that lion of self-control, the lion of immortality that Keshava was talking about. If you're devoted to something, you apply your will to it. Willpower integrates devotion into it. So coming back to this story with Swamiji, he went through in his, in his autobiography, The New Path, Swamiji went through what he called a divine test, and he wrote a whole chapter about it in this incredible book. And it was when he was with Master out in the desert here at 29 Palms, and Master was writing the Bhagavad Gita commentaries, and he had asked young J. Donald Walters to edit like lightning. There's no time. There must be thorough but fast editing, or nothing will get done. And Swamiji was just sort of at a loss for what to do. And when he was alone, he was assailed with doubt. Master would say, this passage means such and such, and it also means this. And he would think, well, can he make up his mind? And he was struggling with understanding his guru on that heart level of breaking through that one of the ego's confines, this intellectual pride. But when he came out on the other side of that test, I wanted to share with you what he says. Later that day, Master tried to comfort me for her seemingly unfeeling remark. But sir, I pleaded, she's quite right. It wouldn't have been possible for anyone to work for my copy. He's talking about the editing work he had done. You are defending her? Master's expression showed amazement. But you did good work. All those capitals, why they'd have made us a laughingstock. I was touched by his attempt to reassure me. For me, however, the important thing was that I knew now, more deeply than ever before, that I belonged to him, and that the outward ups and downs of the path didn't really matter so long as I felt his love in my heart. Perhaps, I reflected, he had been keeping me at 29 Palms only to help me face important defects in my own character, and not for the sake of his books at all. At any rate, I knew that my months of agony had matured me. Now I felt nothing but gratitude for them. After I'd recovered from my test in the desert, Master looked at me kindly, then reassured me in front of the other monks. Walter was on his high horse. Now he is coming our way. And isn't that our story, too? We have to make, like the 5-year-old Dharma Devi call, that if we feel that we're lacking that contact, that we're feeling low or feeling some energy that's blocking us, that we need to call out to our Divine Mother until we say that we're no longer satisfied with the toys and playthings, that we want only her. And then, like Master said, it will become for us too a love solitary because it's omnipresent. God bless you.